What's going on, everybody? This is the blockchain backer bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. Today, we'll be talking about the XRP price chart, while of course incorporating the price action of Bitcoin and the altcoin market with where we're at as we get ready to head into the holiday season, where the stock market has shorter trading hours or is even closed there on Christmas. And well, really, as we get ready to wrap up 2024 and heading into 2025. 2024 has been an interesting year. If you recall, earlier in the year, from like January through April, we had a big rally in the market. Then really April through November was just trash. And then of course, ever since November, we've seen a lot of price action. We've seen XRP go from 50 cents to nearly $3, and we're sitting at $2.21 as I record. So overall, definitely a good year for XRP. And my personal thoughts are heading into 2025, the fun isn't done just yet. But I want to talk currently about the range that we're in right now. And the things that we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks is we're now about 3 weeks into this range. This range is really developed. I've kind of had my thoughts on what I could imagine this range looking like in the event that we're not going to go and revisit the 2021 high on the market cap. That still is always there. It's in the back of my mind of, are we going to actually end up seeing that? That's at $1.50. I'm not ruling it out that can't happen, but I've been looking at an alternative structure, which I've shown on this channel many times over the last 3 weeks, of how I'd imagine a range could play out in here for XRP. And so far, so good. And we had that big move happen last week that took us right back down to the bottom of the range. And since then, XRP has held. And my thoughts are that we're heading into the holiday season, that really at any moment, if this range is correct, I think we could see it actually break upwards at any moment. Again, I'd get caught surprised by that. Of course, if we go visit that $1.50 and this idea is just wrong and it's more like 2017 where we have to backtest the 2021 high and come hit that thing. But this range has played out pretty similarly to what I would expect for a longer range. And I've really refrained for the last couple of weeks of doing anything of like imminent breakout coming, get ready for a move to the upside, even though I've seen it everywhere of people saying that I'm like, I think this is a range. But I think I'm ready to kind of be like, look, if this is the range that I'm thinking of, I think we've actually kind of progressed far enough into this thing that we could see a break happen very soon. Whether that's today, whether that's tomorrow on Christmas Eve or on Christmas, I think we're that far along that it could just kind of happen here within the next couple of days. And that's something I've refrained from saying for several weeks. But I do think we're really close to that. Now, of course, a big thing being monitored over here is Bitcoin. I'm not convinced that we're done with Bitcoin's move to the downside happening in here. Whether you think this is distribution or whether you think this is just some type of pit stop like we had back in 2023, where we did something like that. Well, even in distribution, we would likely come down lower, or even in the event of something like that, it's like there's still a couple more moves down to the downside to happen before that can happen. So I'm not fully convinced that we're out of the woods yet on Bitcoin's move to the downside. But of course, for me, I'm trying to identify, are we doing something like that, or are we doing something like distribution? Now, one thing for XRP, right? And I get it. A lot of people flip the switch. It's all its own thing. I try to paint this picture that this market is all interconnected with each other. It's rotational markets, it's liquidity flows, it's everything moving together. That in the event that we start seeing price action like this start to develop over here on XRP right now, it actually would still point to that Bitcoin is in distribution. Right now in this market, I think everybody's trying to identify whether or not we're in something like this for XRP, which is where, it's back testing that high. That's kind of like this over here, right? That's that $1.50, right? Or are we actually much further along in this thing? And there's still a parabola per se to happen here in the market, but that is actually coming to the end for quite some time after that. Or of course, people are looking to say, no, it's just the beginning. This is just a pit stop. I think that answer kind of gets told over here in Bitcoin. And I think maybe XRP can actually give us a hint to that by seeing how this price action develops over here. If we visit that $1.50 for XRP, where it is more like the first pit stop of 2017, well then, hey, yeah, there's probably a whole lot more left in this thing. However, if it actually does break out, like I'm thinking, while Bitcoin's doing this type of price behavior, well, it may signal more of something like what I talked about last week of how Bitcoin can be in distribution and XRP can go into its final rally during that moment. This is 2017 here in blue for Bitcoin, and this is the peak of Bitcoin coming in right here on December 17th, 2017. Notice how XRP is in this range and had this epic rally up there, doing very similar to what we've seen now, right? It 4x'd itself into that rally, Bitcoin goes into distribution, and during that distribution, this is where XRP rallies from, $1 to $3. But notice how this range gets broken from while Bitcoin is still heading down, right? That's like talking about this right in here. And if it happened while Bitcoin still continued to head down, where this is just a temporary stop, XRP goes for a break, Bitcoin still just chills right in here, and then eventually, change that color, eventually that move down happens. And then, you get kind of a whipsaw back test during the capitulation event of Bitcoin down there, which would be like that, right? And I know this seems like nitpicking about talking about Bitcoin and trying to identify distribution versus a breakout, or, is this an early phase or is this a very late phase? Because I think it's going to be incredibly important when the time comes. Because, you can look out there on Twitter, you can look everywhere. The price predictions are everywhere, right? They're $19, $30. If you think it's just $9 now, you get clowned on, right? So, this is all laying down that foundation of like, if we start seeing that price action and we start seeing price ripping up here and Bitcoin's acting like a retracement rally as the XRP is rallying into something like that, we get to go back and look at these videos and replay them and say, look, this was the idea. This is where we're at. Similarly to how we were like able to reflect back on the November of 2023 video and talk about, hitting that 702 Fibonacci retracement, then pulling back down to the preliminary support and then the push to the upside, and then still, targeting a 4.236 extension of that particular range. But that if this type of price behavior starts to play out, we start saying, hey, look, we kind of have a framework on what happens here with the XRP price, what happens with the altcoin market. When does this thing run? It tends to run in these types of environments. We're getting that type of environment. And while the narratives are hot and, we've got a pro-crypto White House, we have Gary Gensler exiting. Hey, what happens if the appeal gets dropped in the SEC versus Ripple lawsuit, all that stuff, right? They can create a ton of excitement, but then reflecting back on it, being like, hey, we kind of just have these market dynamics existing in the market right now. And this is really just what you would expect regardless of narratives. So I think we're kind of at a junction in this market right now, especially with the XRP price chart on kind of telling us which one we're going to do. I think the range is fully developed at this point. I think in the coming days, we're going to get a decision on the range, and then we'll kind of move on from talking about that. But this has kind of been the talk for the last 3 weeks. I think next up is finding out that decision on, are you going to do that $1.50 or are we going to do something like this? And if we do something like this, there would be that whole talk of being like, hey, look, okay, great. Just kind of be careful. Just kind of, okay, now we can get ready for the bigger move, right? And of course, we try to corroborate that, not just by looking at one individual chart to say that, but to look through the broader market, because these things are going to happen if the whole market is going. And we've spent a lot of time talking about the altcoin market, right? Being back at these all-time high jitters. Is it common to have something like that happen where you have these all-time high jitters when you get back there? Definitely. But then eventually leads to the parabola event, right? And I think that's where we're at. And that's why we can talk about this context. If we didn't have that context happening, then we probably wouldn't be talking about this. But I believe that's where we're at. And so, like I said, I'm not convinced that we're really done with this move here for Bitcoin. I think there's probably a couple more steps down that need to happen in here. But I think what we're looking for is to see, how do the altcoins respond during that? Does XRP kind of catch a little pop happening in here? If it catches a little pop happening in here, probably really start looking at it through the lens like this for XRP rather than this type of lens from over here. But that we're going to start trying to kind of create that final ending parabola, which still nothing changes, like full extension on that. It's still that, $9, $10, $11 area. But the important part about all of this is that, when we get there, if we get there, is that there's going to be a lot of people really hanging their hat on, do you think we're just going to correct and then do another big major move after that? Or do you think this is really the end? And that's why we're looking at it through this lens. We're trying to paint the picture of, is this going to come back down here and backtest, and then Bitcoin is just doing one of these things and it's going to keep marching its way back up? Well, in the event of that, then, well, it opens up the whole door for something like that and then for another leg. But in the event that we actually start doing these types of moves in here, where we're breaking and doing these types of things while Bitcoin is in this breakdown and this downtrend happening in here, and then continue rallying into a retracement on Bitcoin, well, then it's not painting the picture that one of these things is coming followed by that. It's painting more of a picture that, hey, we're working on this thing right now. And that's why we're laying down the context right now. I'm optimistic that a move could come very soon, but the last thing I want to do in the event that we get a move coming is just kind of get caught into the crowd narratives, caught into the excitement, caught into the fantasies and fantasizing and try to get, really locked in to how this market does behave, and that we're following something very similar to how we typically behave. And if we do this, then, that's what we'll be reflecting back on. We'll be looking back on this video and being like, hey, remember all this stuff? And so my bet is that by the time we get back from the holiday break, this thing will have resolved itself, that, we'll either be seeing, that break up start to happen, or the answer of $1.50 will come. But I don't think this range is going to stay locked very much longer. I think we're really right on the cusp of it. And by the time we get back from the Christmas break, this range will be resolved. And, if Bitcoin has to take a little bit of a step lower, I just don't see much really being necessary over here on these market caps for the altcoin market on how much further down they'd have to back test. Same thing goes for the total market cap of crypto. With TradingView's calculations, it got like within a hair's reach of back testing the 2021 all-time high. If that little Bitcoin move is what gets it to actually touch it, then hey, so be it. All these discussions that we're having are trying to be like, are we going to be rallying to the literal end here in the coming weeks and months? Or are we rallying for what would be, another probably year-long pause to then go on and do another one? When I look at macro, my thoughts lean way more towards that we're probably going for the big move, and not just for XRP, but just for all markets in general. But we're waiting for a sign to show up and tell us that at the same time. But I think we kind of get that confluence in here when looking at all the market caps at the exact same time, like the altcoin market for another parabola, and where Bitcoin's at, and XRP, and all these things. I think it all ties in that picture of a parabola, but it's probably the last one for a while. But the reality is that's really how markets always are. It's that we have to go through all the torture. We get to the end. The parabola is insane. And then, then it comes to a conclusion. So, you can paint it in whatever picture you want. You can paint it as most epic rally ever coming around the corner, or you can paint it as the end around the corner. It doesn't matter. Do whatever you want. But we go through years of really, there's just not being much to do, not many actions to take. And then you kind of have to lock in real hard here in this moment to say, hey, what is happening? What are the signs we're looking for? And I'm trying to kind of lay down that groundwork for you guys right now, the way I'm looking at it, at least. So I'm excited. I think we're going to have fun into the beginning of 2025. We'll see what the picture looks like late into 2025. But I also think the 3 weeks that we've spent here in this range, which is really what I thought we were in. I thought we were more range bound than the continuation of this thing. But I think an answer is going to come here pretty soon for which direction, which setup and direction we're planning on having in here. And either way, both of them make me excited. It's just trying to be ready in the heat of the moment when things actually are exciting to kind of be thinking with a level head. But if you had to have me place a percentage confidence on which one I'm leaning on, I'm more like 80% confident on this one and something like this occurring than the whole back test all the way back down to $1.50. So I'll leave the door open for it, but I've had this kind of idea in my head on what this range would look like in the event that we were going to actually be doing something like that. And the range has really followed it. So I'm leaning more heavily on this one. And the thing's pretty much fully developed. So hopefully we get a Santa rally. And when we get back together after the holidays, we're all hooting and hollering and singing Kumbaya again. Otherwise, I hope that you guys do have an absolutely wonderful holiday. I do understand that everybody celebrates their own holidays, but here we celebrate Christmas. So Merry Christmas. I wish you all a wonderful time with family and taking a moment to reflect on life's ups and downs, and that there's still something to be grateful for here at the end. And, even though we kind of went on a rough journey throughout 2024, we're getting to sure end it on a high note. And in the end, money will never really buy you happiness. It can buy you time, which can buy you happiness. But in the end, if you don't really have that happiness with your family and with your roots and just finding gratitude in the moment, the money's unlikely to find you any happiness. So really kind of just practicing enjoying these moments and appreciating these moments are really what matters. So it's a reason why I take time off from the YouTube channel during this, even though it's exciting. Like, man, we could be putting out content. It could be crazy. The market could rally and stuff like that. I've been doing this long enough to know that this is a time to just take time away. Go spend time with family. Come back. The charts are always here. The price action is always here. But don't let it steal your life away from you during these types of special moments. And for us with XRP, of course, it was 4 years ago when the SEC put out the lawsuit against Ripple, and it really ruined the 2020 Christmas to where my wife had to tell all of our family members before I arrived to the Christmas party to not bring up XRP at the Christmas party. She had to warn all of them ahead of time, don't bring it up. I'm grateful that we're not like that now, but it's a reflection on just being like, there's a place to separate it. And right here, right now, that's that time. So welcome back. All the price action will be there. and hopefully it's epic price action when we come back. So have a wonderful time. Have a wonderful holiday. Merry Christmas. And I will see you guys after Santa hooks me up. But all right, that's it, guys. Check out the newsletter at blockchainbacker.substack.com over the holiday. Most recent one there was Getting Ready Crypto's Parabolic Moment with examining parabolic expansions, portfolio performance, and exit psychology, preparing and restructuring. Includes a 48-minute audio recording. Check out bcbacker.com with over 40 videos and 11 hours of content teaching you how to set up your own charts and indicators within TradingView and CoinTrader Pro. There are links in the descriptions of each of my videos to bcbacker.com and in the newsletter at blockchainbacker.substack.com. And otherwise, just enjoy time with your family. But all right, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. If you could, please like this video and give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice and I am not a financial advisor. But if you ever need a pick-me-up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one.